What is going on, everybody? My name is Kneeckoh, and welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet VGC moveset guide. I know there's been a lot of these lately, but we got so many new Pokemon to talk about. Today, in particular, we're talking about one of my favorite new Hisuian forms, that being Hisuian Goodra. This Pokemon is going to be very, very solid, and actually has a couple different ways that you can play it, and I definitely think it's going to be seen as maybe a Trick Room threat, or even just a bulky wall to set in front of some things. It's going to be really, really solid. So, if this is your first time here on the channel, make sure you are subbed for more videos like this in the future. Also, leave a comment below. What do you think of Hisuian Goodra? Do you think it's solid? Are you excited to use it? I personally just think it's better Goodra, which is exciting to me personally. So let's get into it. So like I said, Hisuian Goodra is actually kind of crazy. It's got really great stats with decent HP. Its attack and its special attack are very close to one another. 100 defense and 150 special defense with a 60 speed tier, right? So honestly, not bad at all. It's super bulky, it's super defensive. It still has access to Sap Sipper, which makes it really good. If you're hit by a grass type move, it is raised by one stage, and also you have grass immunity, making you immune to Amoonguss. That is huge. It's absolutely huge to just avoid Amoonguss altogether. Gotta love that. But because of the fact that it can go both ways in terms of attack or special attack, I think that there's a couple different interesting ways that you can play Hisuian Goodra. First off is just the special attacking set. I think this is incredibly solid because it has a very deep move pool, much like Goodra does. There's a lot of options in terms of moves that you can run here. Basically, I have this set up to just do a ton of damage, as much damage as you can, because your main weaknesses are going to be fighting and ground, right? So you have Hydro Pump in case you're in the scenario where you got to take out a ground type, because you are a Terra Water in this scenario, because then you're only weak to electric. You're able to then mitigate one of your weaknesses with Sap Sipper as a water type. Very, very solid for that reason, right? So Heavy Slam, obviously, you know what this is for. This is for Flutter Mane. This is for Flutters all day. It'll hit an Amorous pretty hard as well. Definitely something to consider in that regard. Draco Meteor, just big damage. So yeah, just that is the main idea of Draco Meteor here, is just do as much damage as possible. Hydro Pump, again, paired with Terra Water, going to be able to put out a lot of damage onto things like Arcanine and other fire type threats or ground type threats. And then Flamethrower is just something that you can throw on here. Does it get access? It does get access to Sludge Bomb. I guess you don't necessarily need that because you're a steel type. But there are some other options like Thunderbolt or something that you could run as well. But I think Flamethrower is just a touch more reliable in terms of just being a good attack type. Being able to put out a bunch of damage. Just something that you can spam over and over and over again. That's not necessarily going to be a pain like Hydro Pump or Draco Meteor. Draco Meteor obviously lowering your special attack, Hydro Pump being 80% accurate. This is just your reliable, like, I'm sitting here, I'm going to be in front of you and annoying, and just spam the move over and over. I have an Assault Vest on here because just maximize that special defense, be as bulky as possible, and just be a nuisance. This is really just a wall to deal with a lot of the threats in the format right now. And I think for that reason, it's really good. If it still gets Ice Beam, it does. Ice Beam is something else you could definitely consider running on this because, you know, you have that weakness to the ground types. Ice Beam is going to be very good. Like Bundle is going to be incredibly solid in this new format. So having ice coverage never hurts Goodra. I think it's something that's very valuable. So definitely consider maybe rotating Ice Beam in for something as well. Again, it does get just a ton of moves. Thunderbolt's on here as well. There's just so much here that this Pokemon gets. Can be very solid. But then we got to talk about the attack version of Goodra. And this is basically like the standard Acid Armor, Body Press, Heavy Slam shenanigans that you get with current Goodra. I don't think current Goodra gets Heavy Slam, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think it... Yeah, it doesn't get Heavy Slam, right? But this is something that you were seeing a lot. You run Acid Armor, Body Press on this thing. It's still Terra Water, you know, to avoid damage and stuff from ice types and things of that nature, right? But you could do that now, but you still get access to Heavy Slam, which is huge. That still gives you a play into Flutter Mane. I still think Water is just your best Terra type on this Pokemon, even if you go this more attack route. But Acid Armor to boost your defense by 2. You already have a base 100 defense, which is huge. So then you just go ahead, set up Acid Armor, and start body pressing stuff, and then Heavy Slam for like an Amorous and Flutter Mane, like I mentioned before. Are there any other prevalent fairy types that are going to be popping up? I don't think. Let me double check that though. Fairy. No, you don't have to worry about it. No. Nothing that was new that's going to be popping up. Still old stuff that we're probably going to see. Like, I still think there's a case to be made for, like, Screamtail, potentially. You know, Encore Disable stuff. Grimmsnarl, maybe. I doubt it, though. So stuff like that I still think could be prevalent, but like mainly you're looking at an Amoris and Fluttermane as your big problem targets. So you're definitely going to be wanting to have Heavy Slam for that reason. I think this is a really solid set. Obviously, you can throw Leftovers on there. You can throw Citrus Berry on there. There's a bunch of things on there that you're going to be able to just toss to give it, you know, that extra defensive, bulky nature, and just do lots of damage with this particular Pokemon. Again, because it's so incredibly bulky, it's just going to be a huge wall for things to have to break through. So it's just for that reason going to be really good. Now, in terms of teammates that I think are going to be really solid next to Goodra, specifically this Goodra, I don't necessarily think this one is as good for this particular partner, but I think Wo-Chan, I saw Moxie talk about this, but having Wo-Chan next to this particular Goodra, not lowering its attack stat, because you're a special attacker, is going to be really solid because both these Pokemon can just kind of sit there and wall out the opposing side and just do lots of damage over like chip damage. It's going to be really solid for that reason. I think these two are a really solid combination. Now, this and Wo-Chan doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense because you are playing a more attack-oriented Goodra. So I still think there's a case to be made for these two as a combo, but not necessarily in the same scenario. As you might be thinking. So Wo-Chan definitely I think is a good partner for Goodra, but honestly Goodra I feel is one of those like it's one of those utility Pokemon that you can kind of just put on any team, much like you'd think of like Iron Hands, where like, yeah, I don't know what my slot should be, or Amoonguss even. Like, I don't know what my slot should be. Let me just throw on one of these Pokemon because I know it can fit on most team types. I definitely think Goodra can fill that role really well because it is just that wall. It just sits there, gives you some good coverage options, and then allows you to just kind of be annoying like these two Pokemon have the ability to do. So I definitely think for that reason, Goodra can just fit on a handful of different teams, and you don't have to think too hard about where to add this particular Pokemon. Now, things you need to be worried about for this particular Pokemon, immediately, Urshifu is going to be everywhere. Urshifu is going to be absolutely wild. It's going to be running amok, just like it was in Sword and Shield. It's just a great Pokemon. Having the ability to just go straight through a Protect is massive. So having something like Urshifu out on the field to be able to just hit really hard, but also have that stab fighting type is going to be really big into things like Hisuian Goodra. So you need to be wary of things like that. Ground types, obviously there's Landorus Therian that's going to be running around. I don't know how popular this is actually going to be, considering the fact that things like Bundle exist. This gets one shot by Icy Wind. This just gets blopped by Icy Wind, right? So you're forced to Terra this in the face of a Bundle. So I don't know how popular this is actually going to be. Because really, like, what do? You Terra Fire. You Terra Fire immediately, and you're like, oh, maybe I should have just been an Arcanine, right? I should have just been an Arcanine, and then I could have, like, done more with this slot, right? So I think that Landorus is in a really interesting position, that it was historically always a very good Pokemon, but with Bundle's existence and Bundle still being so good, I think that Landorus really struggles. But this is a Pokemon that I do think we are going to see pop up a fair bit, regardless of that fact. And it's still going to be a problem for Hisuian Goodra. Specifically, I'm talking about why Landro is still bad. So, like, you Terra Fire in a Bundle and you get Hydro Pumped, right? You get Terra Fire, Hydro Pumped, and if you go to Water, which would resist Icy Wind, and Hydro Pump, you get Freeze Dried, right? So, like, either way you roll, Bundle just does not care about this particular Pokemon. So, honestly, I think you're in a really weird spot. Iron Hands can be a problem for this, obviously. You know, the fighting type, you can just sit there and Drain Punch this thing over and over and over, and a lot of them are opting for like Sword Stance now, so that is something you have to consider as well, as this Pokemon can just be a problem for Goodra, especially because if you are running Terra Water, this covers both those options. So I think Iron Hands is a very solid counter for that, so you need to be very cautious of that as well. I think Great Tusk might still pop up here and there. I think Great Tusk is still really solid. Give it a Choice Scarf, allow it to go in and do its thing. I think it fills the same role in Regulation D as it would in Regulation C. So I still think Great Tusk will pop up. It's just very powerful. It's a very solid ground type attacker. You need to be worried about that. In terms of ground type attackers as well, Ursaluna is something you need to keep your eye on. Ursaluna can cause big problems for this. Obviously, you have the option for like water type Hydro Pump into it. If you're running this set, you have the option for water type body presses into it. So you have counters for Ursaluna, but you do need to be very cautious of it as well. And again, Pokemon that don't like looking at Hisuian Goodra, Fluttermane is going to have a very difficult time dealing with this particular Pokemon. Enamorus is another Pokemon that's going to get a lot of use. Enamorus, either Therian or normal, is going to have a lot of use cases, and I think that having a Hisuian Goodra really hinders this particular Pokemon quite a bit. So definitely something to consider there. Just like, even if you have to Terra Water to get away from Earth Power, which I think is going to be a very popular move on Enamorus, having the ability to Terra Water and just do like big damage to it and just be a especially defensive wall is going to put you in a really strong position against Enamorus. So definitely think that despite this Pokemon having answers to Goodra, you have just ways to get around Enamorus and not have to worry about it too much. Obviously, Amogus is going to have a lot of problems with this particular Pokemon. Wo-Chien also. Wo-Chien is not going to like this Pokemon a whole lot. Because you got Sap Sipper, you're immune to Leech Seed, you're immune to Spore. You basically just mitigate this Pokemon altogether. Even if you are running the attack version of Goodra, Wo-Chien just still doesn't like you because you could just Acid Armor up and Body Press it. So at the end of the day, Wo-Chien and Amogus just hate the existence of Goodra. It's just really a problem for these particular Pokemon to play into this new threat. I think all in all, Hisuian Goodra is just something that's very exciting to use. I'm very keen to hop in and start using it on teams. I think it's just incredibly solid and is something that is going to continue to get more and more popular as the format progresses because of its just insane bulk. It's just such a bulky Pokemon. It's just better Goodra, which honestly, I thought Goodra had use cases. I've used Goodra in the past. I think it's a really fun Pokemon to use. This is just so much better. The Dragon Steel typing is fantastic. Thinking of other Pokemon that have it, you know, like Duraludon was popular at early Sword and Shield. Dialga is very popular. So it's just a very solid typing with minimal weaknesses and allows you to play into a lot of things very, very effectively. So super, super fun Pokemon that I can't wait to hop in and play. I really hope Showdown updates soon and we get the Regulation D ladder, because I have so many teams that I want to start showcasing in videos that I'm really excited to talk about and really excited to show off. But until that time comes, you know, we got to just do moveset guides and kind of talk about what Pokemon are going to be very popular. Hopefully, I got some people that are talking on Discord and stuff, some Twitter friends, some Discord friends that are talking about doing some, you know, best of 3 sets on Regulation D rule set. So I'm excited to get some videos made for that, but that'll be coming a little bit later, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But if at any point you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Also, be sure to check out the Discord. People over there hanging out playing Pokemon all the time. If you want to see anything else from me, check out any of these videos that you see here on screen. I post daily competitive Pokemon content, so there's always stuff for you guys to check out. But until next time, peace.